Joining us now, member of the House Oversight and Intelligence Committees, Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. Thank you very much for being on the show, Congressman. Ari Melber has the first question for you.
Good morning to you. You've talked a lot about how we're getting to a point where the impeachment probe is necessary. Your colleague said you're still gathering facts from witnesses. When you look at Corey Lewandowski's performance yesterday, does that actually undercut the argument that you need to hear from a lot more witnesses before moving towards potentially articles of impeachment? Because a lot of viewers thought, well, he's not cooperating that much. How many more new facts do you learn on a day like yesterday?
Sure. I think that obviously it was a combative hearing, but I think that the investigation needs to continue, especially with regard to other important fact witnesses. Don McGahn, I think, is at the top of the list. Obviously, that's in litigation right now before he comes before Capitol Hill, but I think the investigation needs to proceed.
So, Congressman Donny Deutsch, nice to talk to you. So what's the game plan going forward? You know, once again, as opposed to these one-offs, you know, I've suggested in the past, brand the whole thing the Trump criminal investigation. How do you kind of put this mosaic together so it's a very single-minded thing that will cut through for voters?
Well, I think that there are various lines of investigation right now. As you know, I'm on the House Intelligence Committee, and there I think we are basically looking into financial ties between the president as well as other members of the campaign and Russia. During the Bob Mueller hearings, one of the things that we learned is that Mr. Mueller did not really get into assessing the counterintelligence risks associated with those financial ties, and really didn't get into those financial ties at all. That's potentially something that has to be surfaced and looked at very closely going forward. I think that would be very new information to decide whether or not to proceed with impeachment.
So, Congressman, there are some critics who say that nothing was revealed by Corey Lewandowski in the hearings yesterday. What do you think was accomplished yesterday in those hearings?
Well, I think that it's one of those things where obviously Mr. Lewandowski came with a game plan to not answer any questions. I think that Mr. Nadler is considering citing him for contempt. But that being said, I think there are a lot more witnesses that have to be talked to and more evidence to be gathered.
Willie.
Congressman, let me ask you about a different topic. You have, over the course of the summer, in fact, been at the leading edge of an investigation into youth e-cigarettes and the epidemic that's now taken hold in this country. Where do we stand with that? Do you support, for example, the New York State ban that went into effect yesterday of flavored e-cigarettes that clearly target and market toward young kids?
Yes, I do. Your viewers may already know this, but there's a national epidemic of youth vaping underway. 25% of high schoolers are vaping, and 5% of middle schoolers are vaping. This is alarming. My wife and I are parents of both a high schooler and a middle schooler, and the reason why it's so dangerous is that even according to the current Surgeon General, vaping is dangerous for the brain development of young people. Now we're seeing mystery illnesses, respiratory illnesses, and deaths, mainly among young people throughout the country. I believe that these bans on flavored e-cigarettes, both which the Trump administration is proposing, but also states, is really essential because those flavors are what really attract youth. And we have to make sure that they stay away from vaping. They are not for sale, as far as I'm concerned, with regard to the e-cigarette industry.
And I know you've threatened, for example, executives at the company Juul with a subpoena because they've refused to answer your questions. What would you like to ask them?
Well, we had a two-day hearing in the summer, which in part was the impetus, according to the Trump administration, for its recent proposals to regulate e-cigarettes. However, following up on that hearing, we had various questions and requests for documents, and those documents have not been produced. I'll just describe one category of documents that we're very interested in. It turned out during the hearing that we learned that Juul actually paid various school districts to go into schools to conduct anti-vaping seminars. seminars. Now, when we questioned students at those seminars about what was said, they said, for instance, that Juul representatives claimed that e-cigarettes were, quote unquote, totally safe, and made other claims, which, as you know, don't appear to be true. But in any case, at the same time that they're supposed to be combating youth vaping, they're encouraging youth vaping by making those types of statements.
It's ridiculous. Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, thank you very much.
Doesn't it
Thank
stun
you,
you
Mika.
that adults, coming from the ad business, I would never take a cigarette account, go to work every day and use their skills and crafts to sell a product that they know hurts children.
And didn't we even see this coming after what we've been through with cigarettes? These came on the market, and I thought this is going to end badly.
How do humans get up in the morning and do that? I find it stunning.
Are you surprised by that? Do you read the business pages of any paper? The lust for profits?
I'm talking about an individual. You can work in a lot of different businesses, and I don't know a human being personally, frankly, that would go and work at one of these companies and put their energies and their talents. I don't know how you live as a human being doing that. This is what I do for a living. I sell this stuff to kids that's going to hurt them.
Mika, you probably feel this way. I have a 12-year-old daughter. It is incredibly frustrating with how far this culture and society and country has come with cigarettes and combating cigarette use, that now this has been introduced as a new option for kids to get nicotine into their bodies.
So much of it. I have kids that are in college and beyond, all teens. They all have Juuls. They all vape. They all are now, oh, it's safe. And they're getting, this is completely delved into the population of young people. They are now doing this, and now we're finding people are dying.
Yeah.
Big surprise.
Big shockers.
Ari, the people have raised the legal question, though, is how can you ban, let's say you're the state of New York, ban flavored e-cigarettes and not ban cigarettes, which are infinitely more dangerous? You know what I mean? There's that question of, okay, we're going to target this, but not that.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes under the health rules of, okay, what do we know to do the regulation?
Right.
And whether states do it sometimes differently than the feds, but we're learning, as the congressman was saying, that a lot of this stuff hasn't even been fully tested out when you see that with the malfunctions, let alone how the normal flavored ones are working.
Hey, before you tease out,
I
think for every congressional hearing going forward, they should show a clip of Ari Melber.
Yeah.
Even if it has nothing to do with what's going on. I think that just gives it a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yes.
Je ne sais quoi.
Just think about it. Just all of a sudden, you could be talking to a rapper. It's just a little bit of a break in terms of just 5 hours.
One of those where it's like you, Bill Kristol, and Fat Joe. Right. Like one of those.
Fat Joe, by the time, at least in the lawyer section of the clip.
Exactly.
Well, you get people to come on your show and lie like a rug. Okay. Ari Melber, thank you very much. We'll be watching The Beat to see that at 6 o'clock Eastern.
Great show.
Right here on MSNBC.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.